Hello, we're back with another Play or Pass, where we jump into some co-op and multiplayer games and give you our thoughts on whether or not they're worth picking up. And if you want to join myself and Nex for more co-op and multiplayer content, feel free to subscribe and sit back each week as we review and play through all sorts of different titles. Today we're covering Outriders, more specifically the 4-hour demo that got released earlier this year, with the full release date set for the 1st of April 2021. Outriders is brought to us by the same studio that created Gears of War Judgment, so it's no surprise that the game feels very much like a Gears title. The gunplay is similar, the cover system is almost identical, the map design, feeling of combat and visuals all have a nostalgic similarity to previous Gears of War games. However, Outriders takes the Gears formula and injects a heavy load of narrative, a new alien world, and new mechanics that you pick up early on in the form of your alien superpowers. As an Outrider, you are tasked with leading expeditions into new worlds, and the game launches you into the world of Enoch, an exotic planet which you and your team discover is home to new organic life, and a mysterious energy that kills almost anyone it comes in contact with. However, for a select few, it transforms them into something superhuman. And of course, you play as one of the chosen few imbued with this magic-like energy. And the powers you have access to after your transformation really give the game the added dimension on top of the standard cover shooter we're all familiar with. Progress in the Outriders demo is carried over into the main game, and more than 2 million gamers have jumped in to see whether or not it's one to buy when it gets released next month. For us, the game looks like it could have some promise, so we jumped in to help you find out if Outriders is one to take a look at.
For those who watched our top 10 anticipated games of 2021 will know that we've been watching Outriders with a keen eye, and therefore couldn't wait to load up their demo aimed at teasing the game just a month before release. We played it through Steam and were made to create a Square Enix account and watch through a blood-pumping cinematic, setting a really exciting premise to their game. Humans developing powers in the harshness of a new uninhabited world. Character creation is rather limited. There is a tab for body, but you only have options to customize the head through a small amount of presets. Maybe options for the body will be included at launch, but currently it's a bit lacking for an RPG so far. Considering the game's imminent release, it's fair to expect a certain level of polish, so you can forgive us for not being overwhelmed by the questionable quality of the graphics here, or the storytelling for that matter, which seems full of movie cliches and quite predictable outcomes. Oh no, British guy.
Annoying British guy.
Yeah.
We're not on Earth, Shearer. There is no proper procedure.
He needs to die.
There's no going home.
The amount of effort put into the storytelling, however, is really impressive. By the time you get through all the tutorial type gameplay to learn the mechanics, you do feel truly filled into what has gone on. And the world is full of mystery, interesting looking animals, and an abundance of nature. But I guess civilization have only just landed. Give it a few years and this might change.
Wonder what they taste like.
Don't worry, humanity will find out. Movement is a mixed bag. As you can see here, it's not particularly natural, and sprinting feels way faster than I think it should be. This could be down to the excessive motion blur, which neither of us could find an option to turn off. Turning was responsive, which is great for this kind of fast-paced shooter, but it's another one that doesn't allow you to jump. Instead, you'll vault over certain obstacles if intended to do so. You can hide behind these obstacles for cover, which in the case of Outriders has led to quite plainly obvious level design too, with aptly placed structures littered towards your next location. When it came to the combat, gunplay felt great. Hitboxes seemed accurate and headshots rewarded as critical hits. Each gun we tried had a unique feel, giving real purpose to using each one, and in the demo we mainly use a pistol, assault rifle, shotgun and sniper rifle. The only possible downside is that melee felt a bit clunky. It's a slow action and we couldn't always tell if it hit half the time, although it did have a satisfying AoE sprint attack which seemed quite effective. There are a choice of 4 classes: the Technomancer, a long-range support, Pyromancer, a medium-range damage dealer, Trickster, a close-range damage dealer, and the Devastator, a close-range tank. Each class can equip 3 skills of a possible 8 that are unlocked through play, along with 3 subclasses for each one. Whoa! That's kinda cool.
Okay, boss. Do you see?
In addition to this, they have passive abilities that suit their intended playstyle, like increased armor or health and some sort of healing condition. Like for Trickster, every close range kill heals you for 20% max HP. To balance the classes, the developers have opted for team sizes of 3, which they say was also chosen to reduce clutter on screen, something we don't have issue with and will be interesting to see how that plays out over time. Another great aspect to the game is the UI and general interface. Enemies are marked even when behind walls, and pressing tab shows you where to go next, so there's no waiting around. a feature I'd welcome in many other games I play, and these aspects really help complement the fast flow of gameplay. You can loot tons of upgrades such as weapons and armour, which come from various sources like random chests, big enemies and bosses. These enemies are interesting as they actually have mechanics to dodge and play around. This, with the huge amount of health they have, has them cycling through their mechanics multiple times as you learn to play around them.
No, I'm gonna get wrecked here. I chose the wrong time. I'm down. No, why did I go in?
With all this being said, at its core there is so much going on for this game. If the significant flaws are resolved, I have no doubt it could be a solid pick for co-op RPG fans. We would like to note that we had a lot of problems partying up through disconnects and crashing, which hopefully doesn't translate to the general player base. As it stands right now, however, we're apprehensive about the reception it will get when it releases next month as a complete package, and we'll be rooting for a positive outlook due to the standout features and potential Outriders has to offer.
Thank you very much.
Outriders has us a bit conflicted. The devs have clearly put in a huge amount of effort to take players along in an immersive narrative. The number of cutscenes, the characters you're introduced to early on, the environment and the story are laced heavily into the gameplay, more so than any game we've played in recent memory. However, unfortunately the story itself just isn't very good. It's shallow, poorly written, predictable, a little cliche, and a lot of the voice acting just misses the mark. And while we really do appreciate that the devs have tried to provide us with so much background and context, it just doesn't feel great. The gameplay itself leaves a lot to be desired, and it felt like too much had been carried over from the 2013 Gears of War game, which in 2021 feels outdated and clunky. The abundance of waist-high cover, the awkward gunplay, movement and sprint mechanics, and the linear one-dimensional level design makes the game feel like a remaster of something much older. However, saying that, there is a lot of fun to be had when your powers come into play. You can slow, smash and slice your way through waves of enemies, and the short refresh time of your skills means that the combat can be pretty entertaining when you use them on cooldown. And despite the jankiness, the flaws in the narrative and the problems we had with joining each other to play co-op, there were moments where we actually had a pretty fun time playing this game. However, with the design of the levels and the combat, there is a risk that it could get pretty repetitive after a while. Overall, we gave Outriders a 2.5 out of 5. But I think it's important to take this in the context of a demo, and this score may well change on full release. However, given that the release date of the game is only a month away, and some of the core issues lie in the story and the underlying mechanics, it may turn out to only be one to jump into if you're a massive Gears of War fan. Let us know in the comments what you think of the game, or whether or not you agree with our review. We're the Bullet Sponges, and we'll see you in the next one.